I was 26 when this happened, living in Portland and working remotely for a tech startup. The loneliness of working from home got to me, so I downloaded an app called Coffee Meets Bagel. It felt less superficial than Tinder, more intentional. Her name was Sophie. She had these warm brown eyes and this genuine smile in her photos. She was a graphic designer, loved indie music, and had a dog named Pepper. We matched on a Tuesday morning, and by that afternoon, we were already deep in conversation about our favorite albums and childhood memories. What made Sophie different was how patient she was. When I suggested meeting up after 3 days of talking, she said she wanted to wait a bit longer. She said she'd had bad experiences rushing into meetups before. It felt mature, honestly, respectful. We talked every single day for 3 weeks. Voice messages back and forth while I worked, long phone calls at night. Her voice was soft and a little raspy, like she'd just woken up. She told me about her childhood in Vermont, her strained relationship with her parents, her dream of opening her own design studio someday. I felt like I knew her. Finally, she agreed to meet. She picked a coffee shop in Northeast Portland, one of those cozy places with mismatched furniture and local art on the walls. We planned for Saturday at 2 p.m. I got there 15 minutes early because I was nervous and excited. I ordered a cold brew and sat by the window watching every person who walked by. 2 o'clock came and went. At 2:15, I texted her. No response. At 2:30, I called. Straight to voicemail. I felt stupid sitting there alone, but I waited until 3 before I finally left. I sent her one more text saying I hoped everything was okay and that we could reschedule. She responded at 11 p.m. that night. "I'm so sorry, family emergency. Can we try again tomorrow, same place, same time?" I said yes, of course. Sunday at 2 p.m., I was back at the same coffee shop, and once again, she didn't show up. This time, no text, no call, nothing. I waited 30 minutes before I left, feeling more confused than angry. When I got home, there was a DM waiting for me on Instagram. My Instagram wasn't connected to Coffee Meets Bagel, and I'd never given Sophie my handle. The message said, "You looked so sad sitting there alone." It was from an account with no profile picture and a random string of numbers as the username. My stomach dropped. I replied, "Who is this?" "Sophie," came the instant response. I was there both days. I just couldn't bring myself to come inside. I asked her why. She said she was nervous, that she wasn't ready, that seeing me in person made it too real. I told her this was weird and that if she wanted to meet, she needed to actually meet me, not watch me from outside. She didn't respond for an hour. Then, "I understand. One more chance. Wednesday. I promise I'll come inside this time." Against my better judgment, I agreed. Wednesday came, same coffee shop, 2 p.m. I sat in the same spot by the window, and this time I watched the street carefully, looking for anyone who might be watching me back. At 2:10, a woman walked in. She was blonde, not brunette like Sophie's photos. She was older, maybe mid-40s, and she had this intense look in her eyes. She walked straight to my table and sat down across from me without saying a word. I said, "I'm sorry, I'm waiting for someone." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "I know, you're waiting for Sophie." My heart started pounding. I asked her how she knew that. "Because I'm Sophie," she said. I told her that wasn't possible. Sophie looked nothing like her. She pulled out her phone and opened Coffee Meets Bagel, and then she showed me our entire conversation. It was all there, word for word. "The photos aren't me," she said calmly, "but everything else was real. Every conversation, every voice message, that was all me." I didn't know what to say. I felt betrayed and uncomfortable and honestly a little scared. I told her I needed to leave. She reached across the table and grabbed my wrist, not hard, but firm enough to stop me from standing up. "Please don't go. I just wanted to meet you. I knew you wouldn't talk to me if you saw what I really looked like." I pulled my hand away and stood up. "This isn't okay. You lied to me for weeks."
"But we connected," she said, her voice rising slightly. "You felt it too. I know you did." I walked out of the coffee shop as fast as I could without running. I could feel her watching me leave, but I didn't look back. When I got to my car, I sat there for a minute, trying to calm down. Then I blocked her number, blocked the Instagram account, and deleted her from Coffee Meets Bagel. I thought that was the end of it. 2 weeks later, I was at a bar with friends in Southeast Portland, nowhere near that coffee shop. We were celebrating my friend's birthday, and I was finally starting to feel normal again. I went to the bathroom, and when I came back to our table, there was a drink waiting for me that I hadn't ordered. My friend said a woman had dropped it off for me and pointed toward the bar. It was her, Sophie, or whatever her real name was. She was sitting at the bar, watching me with that same unsettling smile. I told my friends we needed to leave, now. They could tell something was wrong, so they didn't ask questions. We paid our tab and left through the back exit. As we were walking to our cars, I heard footsteps behind us. I turned around and she was following us, maybe 20 feet back. I yelled at her to leave me alone. She stopped walking, but didn't leave. She just stood there under a streetlight, staring at me. My friend offered to call the police, but I said no. I didn't think they could do anything since she technically hadn't threatened me. We got in our cars and drove away. I kept checking my rearview mirror the entire drive home, half expecting to see her car following me. For the next month, I kept seeing her. Not every day, but enough to make me paranoid. At the grocery store, browsing the produce section while I was picking out apples, at my gym, walking on a treadmill 3 rows behind me, outside my favorite Thai restaurant, standing across the street. She never approached me again. She just watched. I filed a police report, but without explicit threats or contact, there wasn't much they could do. They said to document everything and call if she approached me directly. I started changing my routines. I went to a different gym, shopped at different stores, avoided my usual spots. Eventually, the sighting stopped. It's been 8 months now, and I haven't seen her since June. But sometimes I still get this creeping feeling when I'm out in public, like someone's watching me. I'll scan the crowd and not see her, but the feeling doesn't go away. I deleted all my dating apps after that. I'm not sure I'll ever feel comfortable using them again. Because the thing that haunts me isn't just that she lied about who she was. It's how much effort she put into finding me after I cut her off. It's the fact that she learned my routines, my favorite places, my patterns. And sometimes I wonder if she ever really stopped watching.
This happened last fall when I was living in Austin. I'd been single for about a year after a pretty rough breakup, and my friends kept bugging me to get back out there. I wasn't really feeling it, but I eventually caved and made a profile on Bumble. I wasn't taking it super seriously. I'd swipe for a few minutes before bed, maybe send a message or two, but I wasn't expecting much. Then I matched with a girl named Vanessa. Vanessa was stunning. I mean, way out of my league stunning. She had these piercing green eyes, long dark hair, and in her photos she was always doing something interesting. Hiking in Big Bend, at some music festival, paddleboarding on Lake Travis. She seemed adventurous and fun. She messaged me first, which is how it works on Bumble, but her message was actually thoughtful. She referenced something specific from my profile about my dog. We started talking, and the conversation flowed easily. She was funny and smart, and she seemed genuinely interested in getting to know me. After a few days of messaging, she suggested we move to texting. She said she rarely checked Bumble and didn't want to miss my messages. That felt like a good sign, so I gave her my number. We texted constantly. Good morning texts throughout the day, before bed. She'd send me photos of her lunch, her workspace, the view from her apartment. Nothing felt forced or weird. It felt natural. The thing was, every time I suggested we meet up, she had a reason why she couldn't. She was traveling for work. Her sister was visiting from out of town. She was sick. She had a big project deadline. After 2 weeks of this, I started getting a little frustrated. I told her I was starting to think she was avoiding me. She sent back a long apologetic text saying she really did want to meet. She was just dealing with a lot right now, and she promised we'd meet soon. I asked if we could at least FaceTime or do a video call so I could feel like this was real. She said her phone's front camera was broken and she didn't have a laptop. It sounded like an excuse, but I wanted to believe her. Another week went by, more excuses. At this point, I'd been talking to Vanessa for almost a month and we still hadn't met in person. I was ready to give up, but then she finally agreed to meet for drinks that Friday. She picked the place, a cocktail bar downtown that I'd never been to. I showed up right at 8 p.m. like we'd planned. The bar was dimly lit and pretty crowded. I texted her that I was there and asked what she was wearing so I could find her. She said she was running a few minutes late and to grab a table in the back. She'd find me. I squeezed through the crowd to the back area and found an empty high-top table. I ordered a beer and waited. 8:15, 8:30, 8:45. I texted her twice, no response. At 9, I was about to leave when a guy approached my table. He was probably in his mid-30s, heavy-set, wearing a baseball cap pulled low. He asked if I was waiting for someone. I said yes, assuming he wanted the table. He sat down across from me. "I'm Vanessa." I laughed because I thought he was joking, but he wasn't smiling. He pulled out his phone and showed me our text conversation. Every message was there, exactly as I'd sent them and received them. I felt like the floor had dropped out from under me. I asked what the hell this was. He said, "I just wanted to meet you. I knew you wouldn't talk to me if I used my real photos." I stood up immediately. I told him this was insane and that he needed to stay away from me. He stood up too. "Please, just give me a chance. We had such a good connection. You felt it. I know you did." I pushed past him and headed for the door. I could hear him calling after me, but I didn't look back. I got in my car, locked the doors, and sat there shaking for a few minutes before I drove home. When I got home, I blocked his number immediately. Then I went to delete Vanessa's profile from Bumble, but it was already gone. I tried to put it out of my mind, but I felt violated. I'd shared things with Vanessa over the past month, personal things, and it had all been this guy. A few days later, I got a text from an unknown number. "I'm sorry for scaring you. I just really liked you. Can we start over?" I blocked that number too. Then another text from a different number. "Why won't you talk to me?" I blocked it. This went on for weeks. Different numbers, always the same person. Sometimes the messages were apologetic, sometimes they were angry. "You led me on. You're just like everyone else. I thought you were different." I stopped responding entirely, but the messages kept coming. Then, one night, I was leaving my apartment to go to the gym. It was around 6 p.m., still light out. As I walked to my car, I noticed a car parked across the street that I didn't recognize. Someone was sitting in the driver's seat. I couldn't see their face clearly, but something about it made me uneasy. I got in my car and drove to the gym, and the whole time I kept checking my mirrors. The car never followed me, but the feeling stuck with me. When I got back from the gym an hour later, the car was gone. 2 nights later, it was there again, same spot, same car. I took a photo of the license plate this time. The next morning, I filed a police report. I showed them the texts, told them about the dating app situation, gave them the license plate number. They said they'd look into it. A few days later, an officer called me back. He said they'd tracked down the vehicle. It was registered to a woman, not a man. He gave me her name, asked if I recognized it. I didn't. The officer said they'd spoken to her and she claimed she didn't know anything about it. She said her car had been borrowed by her brother recently. They couldn't prove anything, so there wasn't much else they could do unless he made direct contact or threats. After that, I didn't see the car again. The texts eventually stopped too. But about a month later, I got a friend request on Facebook from someone I didn't know. No profile picture, barely any information. I almost ignored it, but something made me click on the profile. There were 2 photos. Both of them were pictures of me. One was me leaving my apartment. The other was me at the gym. I immediately unfriended and blocked the account and reported it to Facebook. Then I called the police again and told them what happened. They said the same thing as before. Without a direct threat, there wasn't much they could do. I started being hyper-aware of my surroundings after that. I'd scan parking lots before getting out of my car. I'd check over my shoulder when I was walking. I changed my routine, went to a different gym, took different routes to work. It's been 6 months now, and nothing else has happened. No more texts, no more mystery cars, no more Facebook profiles. But I still feel like I'm looking over my shoulder. I still get anxious when I see an unfamiliar car parked on my street, and I haven't been on a dating app since. The worst part is knowing that he put in that much effort, creating an entire fake persona, maintaining it for a month, showing up at the bar, tracking down where I lived, taking photos of me without my knowledge, and I have no idea what he wanted, what his end game was, if he was just obsessed or if he had something darker in mind. I try not to think about it too much, but late at night when I'm lying in bed and I hear a car door close outside, I can't help but wonder if he's still out there, watching me.
I'm a 29-year-old woman, and I've been using Hinge on and off for about 6 months. Most of my matches were fine, nothing special, but nothing terrible either. Just guys who either ghosted after a few messages or turned out to be boring in person. Then, I matched with someone named Daniel. Daniel's profile was great. He was a veterinarian, which I loved because I'm obsessed with animals. His photos showed him hiking, at a brewery with friends, holding a golden retriever puppy at work. He had kind eyes and a good smile. His prompts were funny, but not trying too hard. We matched on a Wednesday night, and he sent the first message. He asked about my dog, whose photo was in my profile, and we ended up talking for over an hour about our pets. It was easy and comfortable. We moved to texting the next day, and things progressed naturally. He was attentive but not clingy, funny but not obnoxious. He asked questions about my life and actually seemed to listen to the answers. About a week of texting, he suggested we meet for coffee that weekend. I suggested a place near my apartment, a busy cafe I went to all the time. He said that worked for him. Saturday morning came, and I got to the cafe a few minutes early. I ordered a latte and sat at a table near the window. I texted Daniel that I was there. He replied right away, "Be there in 5." 10 minutes passed, then 20. I texted him again. "Sorry, trying to find parking. This area is crazy." I told him there was a parking garage around the corner. He said he'd find it. Another 15 minutes went by. I was starting to feel annoyed. Then my phone rang. It was Daniel. "Hey," he said, and his voice sounded stressed. "I'm so sorry, but my car just died. I'm like 2 blocks away. Do you think you could come help me? I don't know what's wrong with it." I hesitated. Something about it felt off, but I also didn't want to be rude. I asked where he was exactly. He gave me a street name. It was close, just a couple blocks away, but it was in a more residential area, not a lot of foot traffic. I told him I'd come help, but even as I said it, I felt uneasy. I walked the 2 blocks to where he said he was, and when I got there, I didn't see a car on the side of the road. I called him. "Where are you?" I asked. "I'm in the alley behind the dry cleaner. I pulled in here because I didn't want to block traffic." That made my stomach turn. An alley? I told him I wasn't comfortable going into an alley and that he should call a tow truck. He said he didn't have AAA and he just needed someone to help him jumpstart his car. He promised it would only take a minute. I said no. I told him I was going back to the cafe and we could meet another time. There was a pause on the other end. Then he said, in a voice that didn't sound stressed anymore, "You're smarter than I thought." I hung up immediately and started walking back toward the cafe. My hands were shaking. When I got back, I sat there and blocked his number. Then I went to Hinge to unmatch him, but his profile was already gone. I sat there for a few minutes trying to calm down, telling myself I was overreacting. But deep down, I knew I wasn't. I went home and didn't think much more about it. I figured it was just some creep trying to lure me somewhere and I dodged a bullet. But 2 days later, I got a DM on Instagram. It was from an account I didn't recognize, no profile picture, a username that was just random letters and numbers. The message said, "You should have helped me with my car." I felt ice run through my veins. I immediately blocked the account. An hour later, another message from a different account. Same thing. "Why didn't you trust me?" I blocked that one too. Over the next few days, I got at least 10 different fake Instagram accounts, all of them saying similar things. Some were more aggressive. "You're a bitch for leaving me there. I did everything right and you still treated me like a creep." I reported every account and set my Instagram to private. I also filed a police report, though they said the same thing everyone says. Without a direct threat, there's not much we can do. The messages eventually stopped, but a week later, something else happened. I was at home one night around 10 p.m., watching TV in my living room. I live on the second floor of a small apartment building. I heard a sound outside my window, like something scraping against the glass. I muted the TV and listened. It happened again. I got up slowly and peeked through the blinds. There was a man standing in the parking lot below, looking up at my window. It was too dark to see his face clearly, but I could see his outline. He was just standing there, completely still. I stepped back from the window and called 911. While I was on the phone with the dispatcher, I heard footsteps on the stairs outside my apartment. Then there was a knock on my door. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I just stood in the middle of my living room, phone pressed to my ear, while the dispatcher told me officers were on the way. The knocking continued. Slow, deliberate knocks, like whoever was on the other side knew I was in there and waiting for me to answer. Then I heard his voice. "I know you're in there. I just want to talk." It was the same voice from the phone call. Daniel. I didn't say anything. I just waited, praying the police would get there soon. After what felt like forever, the knocking stopped. I heard footsteps going back down the stairs. The police arrived about 5 minutes later. They searched the area, but he was gone. They took a statement from me, but again, there wasn't much they could do. They said to call if he came back. He didn't come back that night, or the next night, but a few days later, I found a note taped to my car windshield in the parking lot. It said, "I'm not going to stop." I took the note to the police. They filed another report, increased patrols in my area, but that was about it. I started staying at my friend's place after that. I didn't feel safe in my own apartment anymore. After about 2 weeks, I went back to my apartment during the day to grab some clothes. When I unlocked my door, I immediately knew something was wrong. Things were out of place, not drastically, but enough that I noticed. A book on my coffee table had been moved. My bedroom door was open when I distinctly remembered closing it. A drawer in my kitchen was slightly ajar. I called the police again. They came and searched the apartment, but there was no sign of forced entry. They said maybe I was just misremembering, but I knew I wasn't. I moved out a week later, broke my lease early, and found a new place across town. I didn't tell anyone my new address except my closest friends and my family. I also deleted all my social media accounts, Instagram, Facebook, everything. I got a new phone number. It's been 4 months now, and nothing has happened. No more messages, no more notes, no more sightings. But I don't feel safe. I probably never will again. Because the worst part isn't just that he lied who he was, or that he tried to lure me into an alley. It's that he somehow figured out where I lived, and he got into my apartment without leaving a trace. I still don't know who he really was. I don't know what he looked like or what he wanted from me. And that's what keeps me up at night. The not knowing, the wondering if he's still out there, if he's moved on to someone else, or if he's still looking for me. I haven't dated anyone since. I don't know if I ever will, because how do you trust someone when you've seen how easy it is to fake an entire identity? How do you let your guard down when you know what people are capable of? I can't. Not anymore. So I just keep moving forward, looking over my shoulder, and hoping that whoever Daniel really was, he's forgotten about me. But somehow, I don't think he has.